So tomorrow I am heading to Oman, and today I'm going to show you what I'm bringing along to shoot stills and video in a place I've never been before, and possibly doing some climbing, doing some exploring, maybe a little bit of hiking, trying to be prepared for as many different types of terrain and situations as I possibly can with the smallest amount of gear that I can possibly get away with. But first, here is a little shot from breakfast this morning with my daughter Lilo having coffee for the first time. What do you think?
Thank you.
Is it delicious? So let's get into the gear. Now, I want to start off by mentioning that while I am shooting with predominantly Fuji gear on this trip, with the exception of the camera I'm recording this vlog on, which is the Sony Rx100 Mark IV, I have really no brand loyalty. I'm not sponsored by any of the companies whose gear I use, but I am going to link below all of the gear that I am using on this outing, and if you want to support this channel and are looking to buy some of these items, by all means, please do so by clicking the links below this video, because that will help support this channel and help me as I'm out here making these types of videos. And while we're at it, if you haven't watched my videos before, really my goal and my purpose in making these videos is to help other people own their story by telling their story. I'm not necessarily a full-time professional photographer. I'm somebody who got into photography because I wanted to tell a story about my life, and I had to learn photography in order to do that, and that whole process has shown me that really we all have a lot to share and contribute, and the best way to take ownership of that is to get a camera and get out there and start making it come together. So let's dive into the gear. So I'm bringing the Fuji Instax camera. I got the 90 actually for Christmas, and maybe I'll do a review of that at some point. I always make sure that whenever I'm going out on any sort of shoot that I have some fun stuff that's just entertainment and that allows me to take photography less seriously. And you know, when you're out on a trip and you've put a lot of time and effort into getting to a location, it can be really challenging to, you know, just step back and give yourself room to have fun. And when you lose track of that ability to have fun, then everything kind of starts to go down the tube. So shooting film is one way that I do that, and the Instax Mini is super, super fun. I have my laptop, and of course I have my Rode SmartLav Plus. I got headphones to monitor audio. I have a GorillaPod. This is the largest one, and that is sufficient for my largest camera and largest lens. In this Pelican case, I have all of my charging accessories, so everything battery related that I could possibly need goes into here, and I bring that along with me. And this is my carrying case for the Sony Rx100 Mark IV, which usually lives in this little pouch as well, which I can clip to my belt if I'm climbing. And then of course I have batteries and some charging cables and stuff like that in here. So I am using the Peak Designs carrying system for my larger cameras, which the Peak Designs is okay. You know, I did a review of it a while back. I think it's well made. It's kind of expensive, but it does really allow me to carry all of my gear, and it's at a good size that I'm pretty happy with. The last item here that I have that's kind of extraneous to my actual cameras is my hard drive. This is a 3 terabyte hard drive, and so at the end of each day when I'm done shooting, I will go and make a folder, dump my stills into one folder, my video into another, and just kind of get stuff off of my hard disks and keep everything backed up too. And it helps me, you know, focus a little bit more on shooting and worry a little bit less about how my media is going to be organized. And then that way, when I go through afterwards, everything is split up into stills and videos, and I already know that there's a little bit of organization that's already taken place. And of course, everybody does this differently, but this is just the way that I do it, you know, kind of tailored to my own OCD, if you will. So I have some film, And this is, again, like I was saying earlier, I like to shoot a little bit of film. In addition to the Instax, I have this Rolemusic XF35, which is super nice. It's really little, really light. And yesterday I shot an entire roll of film in one outing. First time in my life I have ever done that. We were just kind of walking around the lake, and I said, you know what, I'm going to put a roll in here and just go for it. And it was really, really fun. Which, again, that's kind of the point of doing this stuff, because you can't really tell your own story very well if you're so stuck in your own head with everything that you can't relax and enjoy what's happening while it's happening. And that's something, especially vlogging, has given me the ability to see so many situations. When I go back and rewatch footage, I realize that I got so caught up in trying to make a vlog or take a picture or what have you, that it really took me away from the moment that I was experiencing. And so that's something that I try to be really conscious of now. And again, film helps me do that. It's maybe not the same for everybody, but for me, film really provides an effective mechanism. I have the Fuji X100T, and I have the Fuji X-T2, and this is just the carrying strap for the Peak Design system, which is probably one of the most expensive pieces of nylon you'll ever come across in your life, but it is pretty handy in that you can change things up the way that you're carrying it. It's pretty handy, and I'm not going to attempt to review the Peak Design system in this video. Suffice it to say that it's decent, certainly non-essential. I don't think it's like the best thing ever, but it's as good as anything else that's out there, and I would say that the durability makes up for the exorbitant price. So my thought with the X100T, this is for just situations where I'm out and about. I don't want to necessarily shoot video, although this will shoot video. And actually it changes back and forth between stills and video very quickly, because whatever you're shooting, you just push the video button and it goes right. You don't actually put it into video mode. It just automatically starts shooting video as soon as you hit the video record button, which is different than the X-T2. Of course, the X-T2, you actually have to switch it into the video mode here, and that can be a little bit fiddly and waste some time. But the X100T is more for just walking around, exploring things where I'm doing sort of recon, where I want to take some photos but don't necessarily want to have the full X-T2 kit. And frankly, I like the fact that the X100T has a fixed lens. That fixed 35mm focal length is really comfortable for my eye, because I know what it's going to look like before I look through the lens. And so it's a good way for me to just kind of do some sketching photographically, to go out and prepare in a location before I go and try to make finished work. And a lot of times I wind up being surprised, because kind of going out there with that attitude of I'm going out here to practice with the X100T, it allows me to take pictures that I'm really happy with, and certainly the X100T is up to that job. It's a fantastic little camera, very light, and it looks like a film camera too, which is, makes it a little bit less off-putting or intimidating if, you're trying to be low-key, which is absolutely what I'm trying to do as I'm going into Oman. The X-T2, of course, this is what I've been shooting my video on primarily, with the 18 to 55mm lens. And of course I have the dummy grip on this, and that has been a no battery grip in order to keep it small and pretty mobile. So I also have the 16mm f1.4 lens. I might be in the mountains doing some astrophotography, shooting the stars a little bit, and having a wide fast prime lens is really nice for that. I bought the 18 to 55 really as more of a video lens, but I've been kind of surprised that, in situations at least that aren't super low light, the 18 to 55 does a really good job in most daylight situations. Now, once it gets darker, then it can start being a little bit more problematic, where you want a faster lens to be able to shoot handheld. But last night I took it out, I was shooting handheld, just kind of shooting the city skyline and some stuff around the lake here at the place that we're staying, and I was really surprised. 18 to 55 did a great job. The 35mm f2, I love this lens. It is so much awesome. It's great for portraits, but it's not so tight that you can't you know, get some wider shots with it as well. It's fast and it is tiny. I have the 23 millimeter lens as well, which are 35 and 50 millimeter focal length equivalents, right? So the 35 millimeter on the APS-C sensor is the equivalent of a 50 millimeter lens, and the 23 is equivalent of a 35. But instead of bringing that lens for the X-T2, that's what I use the X100T for, and it works. I'm pretty happy with that system. It allows me to carry a little bit less. Then in terms of other goodies, I have a rocket blower here to clean my lenses off, and I have a brush, and I have a little bit of cleaner if I need it, and I have some of those little lens cloths that are so ubiquitous. For audio, in addition to the SmartLav Plus, which I'm wearing right now to record this, I did bring a Tascam DR40, and this is really for ambient audio so that I can go around and get audio separately to layer into the video that I'm going to be making. And I have some charging cables in there. And I did bring a couple of filters, which honestly I rarely use these, but I figured if I'm going to be shooting video and I'm in the daylight, having a neutral density filter could be really useful. And also this one here, a Pro Mist filter, which I can use on the X-T2 also. So the neutral density filter, it basically acts like sunglasses on the lens to allow me to have slower shutter speeds when I'm recording video, or if for whatever reason I want to do longer exposures during the daylight hours. And then this adds a nice effect in some cases where it gives this misty look that can be kind of surreal, and it's pretty rad. But frankly, I don't use those a whole bunch, but I like to have them around just in case. And we got batteries, and we have a ND filter for the 35 millimeter lens, and we have memory cards, charging cables, etc. in there, more memory cards. The other thing too that I want to point out that I'm bringing along, because this, well, there's that. This is the manual shutter release for the X-T2, and actually you can use this on the X100T as well. It's really, really useful for doing long exposure photography, and I love doing night photography. And so what I'll do is I'll just hook that up to either the X100T or the X-T2, put the camera on a tripod, and then you can put it in bulb mode, and then you can do exposures for however long that you want. These cameras do really, really well for low noise, so I love taking night shots with them and using the manual shutter release. So that is a tour of what is in my bag. I don't think I have anything else in there. That is what I am bringing to Oman. So that is what I have in my bag, or that's what I had in my bag, and I'm going to have to put that all back in fairly soon. But I wanted to give you guys a little idea of what I'm bringing. I have to say that I have more stuff along with me than what I need, but I find that if I bring more stuff, I feel more obligated to use it, and sometimes that can be good and sometimes that can be bad. But for me, my goal is to really enjoy the experience and have fun out there, and I feel like any of these cameras really are capable of giving me all that and more. I feel like in a pinch, I could probably get by with any one of these cameras, although they do sort of cover different gaps that the other ones don't. So for example, the RX100 Mark IV, that is smaller sensor, maybe not as great in low light, but it does just about everything really well. It does have some image stabilization, and it is tiny, so if I'm climbing and I'm up on a wall, maybe I'm not going to bring the X-T2 up with me, but I can throw the RX100 Mark IV into my pocket, still get 4K video, still get raw photos that will look really, really great if the situation presents itself, which, yeah, it may not be as good as having an APS-C size sensor, but it's still much better than having nothing. And some of my favorite photos that I've ever taken have been on the RX100 line of cameras because they are so dang small and you can take them anywhere. And that versatility and portability is really worth a lot when you're traveling, because you don't want to stick out. You don't want people to look at you. You know, you don't want to draw attention to yourself. And having a tiny little camera that looks smaller than a cell phone, that's a good way to just stay low-key and undercover. The X-T2, I'm really excited to shoot some video with that. I think it's going to be a little bit challenging because the video, without having a log video profile, it does tend to be a little bit contrasty, which I've had some issues with here. You guys have seen that in my last video. And it also, you know, the autofocus tends to hunt a little bit, at least when it's put on a longer duration. You know, trying to do interviews like this where I'm talking to the camera, the 18 to 55 does hunt a little bit, but again, I'm not really going to be out there vlogging everything that I'm doing in Oman. I'm really going there with the primary focus being to shoot some really nice 4K footage and put that together into a more polished video that hopefully conveys a little bit of the culture and the scenery and some of the places that I'm visiting over there, which are all 100% new to me. So I'm going to do the best I can to get my own bearings personally and then to be able to share that with you guys. If you like what we're doing here in this video, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Leave comments about questions that you have, whether it's gear or travel, any of that stuff. I'm happy to discuss with you guys. Remember to like and share this video also if you think that it might help somebody who could possibly use a little insight. And I hope that this helps you to get an idea of ways that you can take possession of your own story by simply getting out a camera and telling that story for yourself, because it's something that we all have the opportunity to do. We all have access to. The fact that you're here watching this means that you have access to at least the most basic technology that you need to be able to own your story by telling that story with a camera. I'm Steve Reichert, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Adventure Photo Show.